Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live on a Friday evening, which means it is time for us to talk about coping with life. For those of you who might be new, Dear Mama Sal is not just me, it's a group of people who get together 3 times a week, lunchtime on a Friday, to talk about coping with feelings. And we had a really great broadcast at lunchtime today where we discussed all sorts of different feelings and the difference between feelings and emotions, which people found interesting. And then we do this broadcast on a Friday evening at 7 o'clock Pacific, which is all about coping with life and how we talk about how to save money. We talk about, more tips. We always have tips, and we always have some quotes and things thrown in as well to just make it all. And quite honestly, when I say it's not just about me, this group of people come together 3 times a week. And I am so grateful to the core group of people who come in and are prepared to discuss their feelings, their life. And on Sunday afternoon at 3:30, we discuss our stress and how to lower it. And so it wouldn't be what it is without you guys. And I hope you all appreciate the fact that I am very, very grateful to you all for coming in and helping us. The thing that I wanted to say is that it's all about helping you cope. But I believe, and I am probably pretty sure that a lot of you agree, that it's not just helping you cope better, but it's helping those that you know cope better, because I'm pretty sure that you guys have been passing on the lessons that you've learned to others, how in whatever way that you choose. Hi, Beth, always a pleasure to see you. And so I talk about these things because it's important for everybody to know that everybody has to cope with their life. Everybody has ups and downs. It's not just you. Everybody has it. Just some people cope with it better. And that's really what this is all about. And if you're wondering, okay, what's coping? It is your ability to be able to take what's coming at you, process it in a way that is healthy, and then get on with your life. I think that would be the simplest way to do that. I've got a quote here, and it says, "Don't compare your struggles to anybody else's. Don't get discouraged by the success of others. Make your own path and never give up." And Beth, I keep thinking about you and the incredible thing that you had happen when you decided to take a job and people judged you for where you chose to work. And, it's so funny because I keep thinking about that. You knew that's what you felt was right for you at the time. And I have no doubt that you still believe that. Excuse me. And, it's like we each need to take our own journey. And as much as we saw a quote somewhere this week as well, that basically we talk about everybody's traveling their own path, right? And they're doing it at their speed. The fact that they don't get some of the concepts that you may get doesn't mean they're slow. It means they're farther back on the path. Does that make sense? And if you think about it, if you think about yourselves maybe a year or 2 years ago, and you think how much you've learned in those 2 years, especially if you're a regular here, it's like, yeah, keep listening because you're going to learn this stuff whether you want to or not, right? And so I wanted to give a moment, please, to those of you who know Lolo down in Louisiana and Baba, her husband. As you may have heard, he has been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer now. And that is, I am certain, not something that a couple of years ago they ever dreamt would be on their horizon. And so I would ask you, if you know them and if you're in touch with them, please make sure you keep in touch and make sure that they get the support they deserve at this very difficult time. I also, for those of you who are watching, we are like an extended family for people, and we do our best to keep in touch and to keep everybody within that family that wants to stay. And I'm just thinking, I couldn't believe it, but I missed Pat's birthday on the 2nd, and it's not like me. It's not like me, but I did. But, I kept thinking, thank goodness it's Pat, because if anybody understands I'm not perfect, it would be Pat. And anyway, but it didn't lessen the amount of birthday wishes I wanted to send. Beth is saying, I was on a conference call this morning with the district manager and all the store managers. He said, when it comes to my store, it's like a fresh breath of air. And like the rest of the stores, the other store managers don't like me much now, but I don't care. Well, that's one of the difficulties about being good at what you do, Beth. It's a very lonely place. And that's where they always say that management is a lonely place. And if you're good at what you do, you can be sure that nobody wants you to be better than they are. So they will do everything they can to drag you down. Luckily, you have a very strong constitution and you're not going to let them do that. But I can assure you, I've had it time and time again, especially, sort of 50 years ago when I was in my 20s and doing stuff that women didn't do in those days. And I can assure you, Beth, I can remember how people treated me just because I was ambitious and that I was doing things that, I wasn't at home, stuck in the kitchen. I was out making, a living at a time that people were sort of rolling their eyes and going, what are you doing? Yes, and Beth, you see, your mentality is you're just doing your job to the best of your ability. And says that if my office is a mess, then my store will reflect it also. Well, yes and no. Some people manage to get those two, sort of manage to get a good store, but don't worry too much about the office. So I'm not sure if that's totally true, but in your case, it is true. And I've always said, Beth, if you want to know how is my mental health, have a look at how tidy my house is. Because I found there is a correlation between that. Like if I've stopped, for some reason, something's going on in my head, I spend less time tidying up. And you got a bonus of $2,000 for being the best store in the district? Gee, happy Christmas. Hi, Autumn, good to see you. So, well done. By the way, for those of you who might be new to the broadcast, understand that the views you're going to hear are mine. I don't have some fancy bits of paper that says I'm an expert in anything. So just that's my warning to you all. It's just my point of view and it doesn't have to be right. I talked about coping, and the definition of coping was it means that we invest our own conscious effort to solve personal and interpersonal problems in order to try and master, minimize, or tolerate our stress. And again, I would ask those of you who are regulars, have you found that using these concepts actually has lowered your stress level? Are you able to cope with stress better because of what you've learned? And if so, any examples of that? And while you're typing that, I just wanted to give you a note from the mailbag. For those of you who know Paul the Brit, as we call him, he sent me a little thing today, and it was about how to get the crud off, a fry pan. And the fry pan he showed me looks like it's a cast iron one, and he was saying, if you just put some water in there with some dish soap and just let it boil away quietly, it will lift it. And I thanked him for that because that was very kind of him to share that. And I asked him, have you ever tried, hi Linda, good to see you. Have you ever tried the dryer sheet? And so have any of you tried that, where you actually just put a dryer sheet in with some water into a pot that's got crud at the bottom, it's burnt on or whatever? I haven't done it, but I keep seeing notes about it, so I wondered if anybody has tried it. The dryer sheet works, says Beth. If Beth says it works, then it works, because I assure you she is our go-to person for things like this. So we're going to talk a little bit about saving money, if anybody's interested in that. And one of the things that I've been talking to the viewers about is, where possible, buy bigger than you need. And the reason is because you will end up saving quite a bit of money. So if you need, for example, this week I needed to get some hair gel. And it was really interesting to me, the different types of hair gel. And do any of you know about the pink tax? Have any of you, or does anybody not know what the pink tax is? Because I'm very aware of the fact that basically what the pink tax is that a product made for women is inclined to be more expensive than a product made for men. So one of the things I do when I'm shopping and I'm looking for hair gel, I will look to see what's available on the women's side, but then I'll see what's available on the men's side. It makes sense. And it's amazing how I can 9 times out of 10 save a lot of money just by going to the male product rather than the female. Now, the other thing I do, which I think is quite smart, but you guys probably do it already, which is I will buy the strongest hair gel that they've got. You know, if it's the double XL, whatever, you know what I mean, super duper, whatever, I will buy that. Why? Now, you and I both know if you put that in your hair, you're going to end up, you know, like almost with mohawk type abilities. But you see, what I do is I buy it and then I add mineral water or, you know, sort of filtered water to it, right, to get it to the rough consistency that I like. But how many of you can see that by doing that, first of all, check to see if you can buy the men's product. By the way, when you get the men's product, get the unscented one, because that means it's just the stuff. And, you know, they're inclined to put very manly smells on the men's ones, so get the unscented ones. But you will get more for your buck. And secondly, you will also be able to buy the stronger one and then, you know, bring it down a bit. Yes, Beth's saying, I use men's deodorant. It is stronger and cheaper. Old Spice Fiji smells like a woman. Well, there you go. That's good to know. I was going to mention that on deodorants, you know, be aware of the fragrances, because Old Spice is very well known, but that's interesting. I'll have to get some and try it. Jody's saying, thinking of what one thing can I cross off my to-do list when I'm about to go into overwhelm. It's been a saving grace recently. Breaking it down into small, manageable bits really helps. We're going to be talking a bit more about that in a second, so great. Thank you for adding that. All right, so now then, if any of you got a topic about which you'd like me to speak, please contact me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. I do try to sort of get back to everybody. And, you know, I love it when people write to me and say, could you, you know, talk a little bit about this or that? And what I will do is I will find one of the 3 broadcasts that I do and try and get that topic in there in some way. Hi, Isa, good to see you. We missed you. All right, so now then, here's another money-saving tip. Probably, again, you guys already do it, but I've really started to do it recently. For example, today I had some asparagus. How many of you cut the end off the asparagus before you cook it? Beth's saying, my boss told me to take an extra day off. I got it in a text. You got it in writing. You're getting better. Well done, Beth. You take that extra day, honey. You're going to need it. Hi there, Nyasha. Good to see you. All right, so how many of you cut the ends off asparagus? Or maybe, what about broccoli? You cut the end of it. Or cauliflower. Take the core of it out. You understand what I'm talking about? Here's what I found. I'm throwing much less of that away. I know, for example, today I had asparagus. I cut a slither of the end off just to get rid of the dry bits. But then the next inch I cut off and I freeze. When I'm doing broccoli, take this, just the very end off that could be cruddy, and then I take and slice up that next section until you get to where the florets are. That section, I just slice it and put it in the bag. I have a special bag where I freeze those sort of things. Cauliflower, broccoli. What was the other one? Asparagus, same thing. Now, when I'm doing a stir fry or roasting vegetables, I will add some of those in with it. And I can assure you that when it's all mixed in with everything else, you don't even realize that you just added that much extra vegetable and it's free. Does that make sense? And I found that it roasts up beautifully. By the way, if I'm making shepherd's pie or something, I will probably leave out the asparagus because that has a very solid taste to it. But I will take the cauliflower stem and the broccoli stem, and I will just, mush those up and put that in with the other vegetables that I use for my shepherd's pie. I would like to suggest the same thing. If you think how many things you can do. I also, again, a new trick of mine, I will crack a couple of eggs, throw in some vegetables, and blend it all together to make an omelet. So I will use some of the asparagus when I'm making an omelet because I've got an asparagus omelet then. So think about that. Think about what those little bits you can save and add to other meals that then become free vegetables. You would normally have thrown them away. I am working very hard at throwing less and less away. The other little tip I wanted to give you this week, how many of you have been having doctor's appointments digitally in either on the telephone or on a Zoom call or something like that? I'm going to ask you all to be much more careful about taking notes about what's going on for you. The reason I say that is because I think it's more important that our doctors know exactly what's happening. And so, for example, it's going to be important for my doctor to know that it turns out I've been on the We Fit thing for 3 weeks. For the last 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it is, I have been doing 30 minutes a day, disciplined 30 minutes a day, every day of We Fit. And, talk about some of the things I have managed to achieve. Why? It tells him about my mentality. All right? It's not, well, I'm in lockdown, so I can't do any exercise, whatever. I'm going to say to him, hello, I'm in lockdown, but here's what I'm doing to compensate and make sure I'm still getting exercise. This is what I'm doing to help myself and to keep myself occupied and keep my mind working and to keep my my cognitive skills going whilst I'm in isolation. Because I think that's really important for your doctor to know. What do you think? Now, if on the other hand, you are isolating and lonely and feeling that it's getting worse for you, then, and you can't control it, right? It's like you've done what you can, but you're not, you need to make sure your doctor knows that too. And so coping with life during a pandemic is not the same as coping with life normally. None of us a year ago could have dreamt that, number one, we'd be having a pandemic like this. Although I think it was about this time that we started to get, isn't it when it really started to get mentioned, was about December of last year? But I'm pretty certain if they'd said to you, well, listen, in the next year, you're going to be not only affected by it, but you're going to be severely your life is going to change because of it. Hi, Virgo soul. Good to see you. Welcome. Big hug. So think about that. We didn't know what we were going to have to deal with, and probably a good thing, because if they told you, you probably wouldn't have wanted to do it. Now, I got a bit frustrated today. I have 2 broadcasts on a Friday, so Fridays are always a busy day. But I knew that tomorrow the Amazon delivery was coming. And so I needed to go out and do some other things today so I could stay home tomorrow for the Amazon guy or woman. Well, guess what? They came while I was out. And how many of you can understand that it was just like, really? And then I took that frustration and I went, hey, but I got boxes and it's Friday and I know people that love boxes. They're called my viewers. So therefore, let me be grateful that I got the boxes so that I can unpack them. And by the way, for those of you who weren't at the lunchtime thing, please notice I have something out of my own wardrobe back. I've got a few winter clothes that they have delivered to me. Yay. So I've now got one more t-shirt and a few other things. And it was funny because at lunchtime I was saying, when you think of my winter clothes, what do you think of? And the one thing I was pretty sure, because you see it on a lot of broadcasts at Christmas time, is my tartan cardigan. So that's ready. Yeah, I'm going to do another haul. And for those of you who've watched me many, many times, you know this one. And they smell beautiful. They don't smell of smoke, so that's wonderful. So I've got two boxes here, except I put them all in one box for you. That's only if you want to see. Who was it? Yeah, Sandy does. Okay, that's good enough for me. Right, so this was the first one. And this one, I have undone them because it's always so difficult when you're online. This one is, I bought a series of gift bags. For those of you who are watching at lunchtime, I'm busy making what I can, but I bought a series of gift bags. And if you notice, they are not necessarily Christmas, but they surely are things that people will see as Christmassy because mentality-wise, that's what they're expecting. And the reason I didn't buy Christmassy ones is because this is my way of saving a lot of stuff in the environment. Number one, I'm not buying wrapping paper. I'm buying these. And these, how many of you, if you got this bag, how many of you got this bag would want to throw it away? So my sort of contribution to the planet is that I bought bags that I thought people would love. What do you think? And it's interesting, Sandy's saying, and they're shiny. And you know what I did as well is I bought, so I can show you, I bought the matching tissue paper to go with it. And some of it's got stars on it, some of it's got, I don't know about the center one. I'm going to have to find out now because it's me. So some of it absolutely matches it. Hang on a second, people. I've got to find what that other one is. Oh, and then, all right, we've got choices here. Okay, so we've got the one that matches it. And then we've got this one. And then we've got this one. Then we've got this one. And the plain gold. And this one, herringbone. Oh, they're all different. That's beautiful. And this one. And this one. And you all know it's not going to fit back in here properly again. And do I really care? Nope. I'll sort that one out later. So here's my thinking. These bags, because they are not Christmassy, I can either use them or not use them, all up. And the wrapping, I made sure matched the bags. And so that will do for weddings and birthdays or anything else. Can you understand? I'm trying to save a lot of stuff. By the way, if I'm in a household and people don't fold up their tissue paper, I ask if I can have it back, because I do. How many of you do that? You actually take your tissue paper and just smooth it out and then reuse it. Okay, so don't you think that looks beautiful? I mean, with any of those tissue papers, it'll look really pretty. So I'm really happy about that. It's going on the floor. That's going on the floor. The bags can go there as well. So that's the first thing. The next thing. I've been trying to make some things with paint, but guess what? I don't have any of my painting equipment. And the biggest problem I have is I don't have things in which to mix paint. So I bought more than I need. These are little, the little containers. I think they're condiment ones. Hang on, what size are they? And I could have probably gone to the dollar store and picked them up more cheaply, but I didn't want to take the risk of going. That's just my personal thing. So I'd rather have them delivered. Hold on a second. Oh, yes, they are. They're teeny weeny ones. That's what I wanted. So aren't they cute? So great for leftover paint, which is exactly what I wanted. And by the way, if I've got more paint, I can put it in 2 or 3. So I'm happy. So that's one step closer. One of the reasons I haven't been doing anything with my paint is I have nowhere to store it, and I didn't want to throw it away. All right. What else have I got in here? Oh, more gold tissue paper. Must have been a good deal on that. And the last thing I got, saving the environment a little bit, is this. And I know I'm going to have to open that or else you won't be happy. Try and do that without cutting through the thing I just bought. Again, a lot of you may already have done this, but I decided that I was going to get myself some smoothie silicone straws. And part of the selling for me was they've got the cleaners to go with them. So do they have one for each? Hang on a second. No, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straws, silicone straws, and 3 cleaners. And I already, my regular smoothie straw, I have one with me. I just put it in the dishwasher every day. But when I saw these, it was time for a new straw. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to buy a straw, I thought about buying the steel ones, but I don't like that on my teeth. But silicone, I thought would be a lot better. So that will now be less plastic in the landfill because no more plastic straws for me. And I thought about people, in my environment that I know are smoothie people. I could probably throw in a silicone straw for them. It's just like, hello, have you got one? Would you like to try one? So Jody obviously has got one because she said she loves the silicone straws. Anything that we need to know about, do they, clean easily? Anything we need to be aware of? I'm really big into silicone these days. Okay, so that's my unboxing, people. I hope you enjoyed that. Question. I talked last week a little bit about reusing. This is one of my disinfectant wipes, and I love these. What I found is that these, after I've used them, I don't throw them away. I literally just take some disinfectant soap and I, really spend a lot of time washing it. I then rinse it, I wash it again, and then I just hang it on my towel rail to dry. And I want to tell you that these, Aaron, we don't use this channel to advertise things, please. And I'm going to ask Jody just to take that down. So what I found is that these are really reusable. I use them a lot for my makeup. I use them as dusters. I use them for as many things as I can. Just hold on 1 second. Thank you very much, Jody. Okay, so Jody's saying about the straws that they are easy to clean and the brush works beautifully. That's what we want to hear. Okay, so these are these sort of wet wipes, but I'm amazed at the quality of the ones that I've got. However, the other thing was, I was saying to you, please don't throw away your, what do you call them? Dryer sheets. Now, this dryer sheet that I've got came with the apartment that I'm in. And for those of you who don't know, I'm temporarily in an apartment while they're rebuilding my house. And so what I found was, Jody, if that person puts up anything else, just report them, please. So I have asked them not to do that. So thank you for blocking it. So here's the thing. This is from a dryer sheet, and I wondered if any of you would just throw this away. I started to wonder, what can I use this for? And so far, obviously I washed it properly and dried it and everything, but I found out they're really good on mirrors, really good for mirrors, and for my electronics and my stainless steel fridge, right? They're really great for that. So I'm getting at least 2 uses. Now, they are, if you really want to pull at them, they are still like this. Oh, by the way, if you want to mend a nail, it's a really good thing to put down before you put the glue on it. So to me, it's like, find another use for everything if you can before you throw it away. And for those of you who've always wondered, what on earth can you use your toilet roll centers for? I stick my, I stick these into a toilet roll, and I can get about 6 of them into one. And so I've got a little collection of these mini dusters. I've got this collection here next to my computer. I have another one in the kitchen for small, rather than use paper towels, I'm using these wherever I can. And obviously another one in the bathroom. Makes sense? Far less in the landfill, far more practical use. I even used one of these just to see if it worked to make yogurt cheese. Obviously I washed it until all the smell came out of it. Now, here's another thing I found out that works. I took some of these and did an experiment. I just wondered if it would work. And I just put some disinfectant soap down on my countertop. And then I smudged these onto the disinfectant soap, made sure they were nicely coated, and then I hung them up to dry. And now I've got little soap things as well. Great for anybody who knows a camper or something like that. Really easy thing for them, as a camper thing. Okay, so there we go. Linda's saying, I use dryer sheets under my sofa cushions, in my suitcase, and in the bottom of a dirty clothes hamper. I also use them to clean my baseboards. Great idea. Great idea. And that bending down to do that's very good exercise. Well done. So how about this one? The struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow. So don't give up. How many of you know that with everything that's happened in the pandemic, you're learning new skills? When I say you're learning new skills, you're learning how to cope a lot better than you were a year ago. So one of the things I would ask you is, when you look back at nearly a year now of pandemic time, what have you learned by this? What is it that you have learned? Some of you will have learned that you are quite capable of coping, and you're probably coping better than you thought you were. Some of you have learned that the people you thought were your friends were not, because they really, once you weren't able to see them as much or whatever, those friendships probably fell away. And so that's something we need to know as well. I'm a great believer that, you can tell who your friends are if you're not contacting them, because if you don't hear from them, the only reason that you're in touch with them is because you are the one that does the contact. Be aware. And I always remember Doug teaching me that lesson one time when he said he did an experiment where he did not contact anybody. And he decided he wasn't going to contact anybody for a month, and to see who contacted him. And thank goodness I was the first one. And it was just like, shoo. And he said, yep, you were the first one that noticed, or that just contacted me. And he said, I kept a list of the people in that month who cared. And I knew they were the people I was going to spend time with in my life. So, interesting experiment to do. Now, I also had a look at, we're talking about buying bigger is cheaper. I had a look about sugar. Now, I'm mentioning sugar because we're going to be talking about sweeteners later on. But here's what I found out. And I'm in Canada, so I'm going to talk just around the prices. Don't worry about whether it's Canadian dollars as opposed to American dollars or whatever. Just get an idea that a bag of sugar, the regular size one, in Canada today costs $3.99. Let's say $4. But the same amount, if you buy it in the bulk section, is only $3. You save a full dollar just by buying it in bulk. I think that's important to know. Don't you? So wherever you can, buy the bulk version. Even if you end up not using it all, it'll still be cheaper for a lot of you. I also found a quote that said, we grow because we struggle. And through the struggle, we learn and overcome. I'm certain you have all done that this year. I also had a look, because I was interested, at ginger. And it's interesting because ginger gives us lots of different options. You can buy the ginger root. You can buy it in bulk, or you can buy it in a little container, or you can buy it packaged, pre-packaged. And it was really interesting. Save money and the planet. I found out that buying the root actually cost about $5.50. If you buy it in bulk, it only costs $2. And if you buy it packaged, the same amount costs you $4.50. So interestingly enough, the saving on ground ginger is definitely in favor of buying the bulk, in big time. But the problem is you can only, I think the minimum you can buy is probably more than you would normally buy. In which case, share it with somebody. You're still saving money and you're giving a gift. I also had a look at cloves. Listen to this one. If you buy cloves in bulk, it'll cost you about 50 cents. And if you buy, this is the scary thing. If you buy half the amount that you would pay 50 cents for, and it's in a bottle, it would cost you close to $8. So think about that. You're paying for the bottle, and we don't need the bottle. You've probably got the bottle already. Now, Jody, after we were talking about this last week, remember I said that, have a look at some of the things, because you are probably wasting a lot of money buying fresh foods and then throwing it away. Jody decided she'd have a look at that, and she bought some green giant eggplant, peppers, and zucchini marinated veggies in a package, frozen. And here's what she said. Let me just see what she said here. Let me just move the picture away. And thanks for letting me know about this, Jody, because that was important. Hang on, I've got to get the picture out of the way. Okay, so they were $13.44. And you reckon that the vegetables you cooked on one day fresh cost you about $6.50. And that bag would do 3 of those meals. Therefore, it was worth buying it. So you see, this is the whole thing and also you're not going to have to throw it away if you forget to use it this week, right? It's still in the freezer. And that is, start thinking about that. I am now buying fresh and freezing it myself. I will buy a head of, or part of a head of broccoli, but sometimes I don't use it all week. So I have learned now that the first day I will have it fresh and use it for dips or something, but day 2, I put it in the freezer. And then when I'm making a stir fry or something, I just pull out some little bits and add it. And it lasts me twice as long, and I'm getting my money's worth. Make sense? So again, please remember to buy the bigger size if possible. Oh, I didn't bring out. I ended up buying the Dippity-Doo super concentrated, super strong hair gel. And I paid half of what I would normally pay for twice the amount. And I went, no brainer, really. And it's too strong. I'm going to have to water it down. But the good news is, it means I get twice as much. I like that thinking. Now, I saw I don't know what I was busy looking at this week. And I ended up seeing something about, the top actors, the richest actors in 2020. And what surprised me was, did you know that Robert De Niro is worth about $500 million today? And I thought, yeah, he deserves that. Obviously invested his money well. What didn't surprise me was that Tom Cruise is worth $570 million. But what did surprise me was George Clooney is just a little bit below him at $520 million. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a feeling that Tom Cruise has been in a lot more movies than George Clooney. So somebody did a good job with their money. Now, the interesting thing was that one of the richest actors, in fact, the richest one that's mentioned, was Shah Rukh Khan, who is a Bollywood actor, I believe. He's worth $620 million. It was, good year for some people. And to me, it's all about interesting. I love taking a little moment and just going, really? That's so interesting that George Clooney is just not that far behind Tom Cruise in terms of his net worth today. You see, living, as we keep saying, living is taking life as it comes, embracing it, and doing as much as you can to feel fulfilled. Existing, on the other hand, is long survival. Living is choosing happiness and choosing to live, and existing is where you're being physically, where you're here sort of physically, but you're not doing what you want to do with your life. You're living somebody else's life for you. And simply put, I've always said that if you're constantly learning and challenging yourself and doing what you want, then you are living. And if you're always complaining and giving excuses, you are probably existing. So did you learn anything this week? Because if you're not challenging yourself to learn anything, then of course you will be existing, not living. So let me see, did any of you learn anything new this week? And while you're typing, some of you know, I better not go and show you again because I did that. I learned how to make chocolates in a silicone mold because one of the things I decided was what I could do was make my friends some homemade chocolates. And instead of trying to do them all at once, I decided every week I would make a different sort. And this week I did salted caramel chocolates, I did chewy caramel chocolates, and I did pecan chocolates. And I must admit, from the quality control that I've done, nobody's going to be complaining about these chocolates. And so my attitude is this is possible to do. Now, my experiment for the coming week is what I want to do is I want to take a Black Forest cake type recipe, but I want to do a small amount and mix it with mandarin oranges, blend it, and then cook it. I'm going to do a small experiment first to see if it works. And then I'm going to make little ice cube size cakes, mandarin cakes, if you like, and then cover those with chocolate. How many of you going, so this is about, I am trying to have fun doing this. Yes, Linda, I quite agree with you. Linda's saying this week I learned that meal planning and prepping saves money. I haven't always done that. I did a broadcast not so long ago, Linda, where it was recommended, and it was brilliant because I could see the wisdom of it. Start your meal planning in your own fridge. In other words, look at your fridge and go, what have I got too much of? And start your planning using up the things you've got too much of. Okay? Then you can supplement if you haven't got enough. And buy, but they reckon that was the best way to save money. Use up what you've got in your fridge first, or what you've got in your pantry first. I've been back to my old house today, my old house as in the one that caught fire, because I still have some food available to me. And so the first thing I do once a week, I go and shop in my own cupboard. And today I bought back, coffee and a few other things, a few more spices, so that I don't have to buy them. Make sense? Jody's saying, I watched painting tutorials and learned shading techniques to make Christmas bows look shiny. What a brilliant idea, all right? You see, this is the whole thing. I actually was going to paint a couple of boxes. By the way, if you've got a lot of boxes, you think about painting them. But then I realized I needed my big things of paint to do them. But I will probably keep my boxes that I'm getting from Amazon and so forth, and then paint them during next year, ready for the following year, and put presents in them. Rather than buy, you've got to think about wrapping paper. What do people do? They just tear it apart and you throw it away. What a waste of money. What a waste of money. The other thing is, if you just painted them white, get a big can of white paint and paint all your boxes white. Wouldn't take you more than a week to do them, a whole lot of them. And then you could even paint a red ribbon around them, right? For those of you who are crafty. Linda's saying, thank you for the shopping in my own pantry first advice. Not only your pantry, but your fridge and your freezer. Okay, start there. The other thing I found, Linda, it's just something that I found recently, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, is that I found that freezing meals, I don't use them very much. I just fill up the freezer. What I now do is I buy a roast and I cook it and I slice or cube the roast. I eat it and then I package those. And I have one bag that has chicken in it, one bag that has beef in it, one bag that has pork in it. You understand what I'm saying? And when I go to get something out of the freezer, it is a serving of chicken or a serving of pork or a serving of whatever. And one of my meat groups is bacon. And that's 2 rashers of bacon is one serving for me. And so what I will do is I will maybe one night have a stir fry with bacon. And I found that is a very tasty option. And I won't need a lot of carbs or anything because there's so much, everything's better with bacon, right? I mean, really. It is said that the struggle of life is one of our greatest blessings. It makes us patient, sensitive, and godlike. It teaches us that although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of overcoming it. And I would encourage you to see this time. I am pretty certain that we are going to be told in Canada to only do Christmas with the people you live with this year. And that would be a fair compromise when you realize that if you did that, you might live to celebrate another Christmas. And I'm not going to fight that. I've already told any friends that I've been talking to, hey, the chances, I just need you to know that the chances are I will not be visiting anybody for Christmas. Now, I may make the exception of my neighbor in my where my house is, because I decided she was going to be my family. And the ruling is here in Canada that if you live on your own, you can have 1 or 2 people that are considered your live-in family, because they realize that they cannot ask us to do without anybody at all. That's not good for your mental health. Sandy also lives in Canada. She said, yep, they're already saying that. But also you can include somebody who lives alone normally. Yes, and that's what I realize is that I have the ability to visit one person. And I would make that Betty Ann. I can't make it Yvonne because she's now in a household that has COVID. And that's scary. The people that bought my house, and for those of you who don't know, Yvonne was my tenant for 20 years and probably knows me better than anybody in the world now. But, the interesting thing is that the people who bought my house, they're not the one that burnt, that was the one I moved into. But, it's been an interesting year. But the people who bought the house got COVID, and they live upstairs and Yvonne lives downstairs, and they share the same ventilation system. I know that because I've lived that house for many years. So, it's scary. So I can't go visit Yvonne for Christmas. So I decided I would, probably go visit Betty Ann and her husband, because I know that Betty Ann loves to entertain. That's her greatest joy, is to, when I say she loves to cook. And the reason she loves to cook the big meal is because her husband doesn't like that sort of cooking. He likes very, very plain cooking. So she gets her joy out of cooking for other people because she can cook things she can't normally cook. So I will probably say yes to that. And I will spend my Christmas day going there and probably playing games on her Wii machine, as in Wii bowling or Wii tennis or Wii whatever, and it will be something to look forward to. So I'm not sure what will happen in the States, but I'm pretty certain from the way that they're talking that they're going to ask us in Canada to stay at home. And I think the guy has already said, right, I'm the Grinch that stole your Christmas. He's already saying that because they're going to ask everybody to stay home. All right, now I want to thank Jody, our admin, because Jody did a bit of research for me. I'm pretty sure that some of you know that we've got viewers that are regulars that are pre-diabetic, we've got diabetic people, and we've got people who just probably aren't aware of how much trouble they can get into with all the sugar that we're eating in our diets. And it's not that you choose it, it's in everything that you buy, right? Unless you're really aware of it, it's in everything that you buy. And so one of the things I asked Jody to look at for us was, what is the difference between sugar and an artificial sweetener? And how good or bad are they? And here's some of the research that she came up with for us. She said that the sweetness of artificial sugar, that is without the calories of sugar, may trigger a malfunction in the brain that causes an increase in appetite. Isn't that interesting? That although we're, would that be the alcohol sugar that you're speaking of there, Jody? Because I thought that was an interesting fact. That has not been my experience. And I must say that I was quite surprised that today the only food I had was 2 cups of coffee and, the 2 little salted caramel chocolates that I was showing you that I consumed. And, I didn't realize that I hadn't eaten until about 5 or 6 o'clock, probably about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And so what I found was that salted whatever stuff seems to make me think that I've eaten. There's something, the taste stays with you. So, the stuff that I've got in my coffee. But I also realized that plunger I've got puts in twice as much as I need. And so now I'm just eating it like this so I don't eat take as much of it. But I really must say I'm loving it. So now the other thing that she said is that the more that you have of anything sweet, the more you will want, right? That's a vicious cycle that we all know about. The difficulty with me is, only eat 2 of those, don't eat more. And then she went on to mention that artificial sweeteners can make you shun and stay away from healthy, filling, highly nutritious foods while consuming more artificially flavored foods with less nutritional value. Interesting. So what I found today, Jody, just so that you know, when I did go to eat, in other words, my intermittent fasting time was up, and I thought about what am I going to eat today? Part of me, the voice in my head said, well, you're going to be out. Why don't you pick up some poutine? Because, I'm Canadian. And, and poutine is fries covered in, cheese curds and gravy. It's so good. And, I normally would have done that. And I went, yeah, right. I'm talking back to this voice that wants me to buy poutine. And I said, I am trying to lose weight, so I don't think I'm going to be doing that. And I was quite surprised. I came home and it was like, normally I would have a slice of whole wheat. I make a multigrain sourdough. I normally have a slice of that with some bread, with some no sugar added jam or peanut butter. And I suddenly thought, I wonder what I've got in the fridge, right? Shop from your fridge first. And I noticed I had asparagus. So I took half a bunch of asparagus and cooked that up with some butter. I put some butter over the top after I'd cooked it. And that's what I had for breakfast. And I have not had anything. No, I lie. I did have some carbs. I had some winter crackers one serving of winter crackers with some laughing cow cheese. That's what I've eaten, and it's now 8 o'clock at night. That's it for the day. I'm pretty impressed with that. Mind you, what I get up to after the broadcast is another problem. Right, continuing the story about the sugars. Jody mentioned that sugar-containing foods in their natural form, such as whole fruit, it tends to be highly nutritious and nutrient dense. That means it's good for you. High in fiber, and it's low on the glycemic load. Now, for those of you who are diabetic or pre-diabetic, you understand about the glycemic load, the things that cause you to spike your sugar levels. And so she said, on the other hand, refined concentrated sugar consumed in large amounts rapidly increases the blood glucose and insulin levels. So what I was wondering is, cooking with sweeteners rather than pure sugar would be healthier for Christmas treats. Am I correct in that, Jody? In other words, we're not, chocolate on its own actually isn't that bad for you. And I'm thinking, instead of doing sugar-loaded stuff, I might sort of replace the sugar with sweeteners, or at least only use half the sugar and half sweetener, or actually a quarter sweetener, because you need far less of the sweetener than you do of the sugar. So I'm going to try a couple of experiments on that. She also said that the artificial sweeteners have little or no effect on the blood sugar, which is helping to manage diabetes and prediabetes. And they can be derived from natural substances such as stevia. So all the truvias, stevias, all those sort of things, right? And much better for your teeth. So if you've got to have that sugar fix or that sweetness fix, that would be the way to go. And as Jody said from her discussion with her nutritionist, that it's not about all or nothing, all right? It's about how can you cut it down a little bit. Now, Jody, I think I'm correct in saying that you are trying to cut yours down by, is it 3/4? Is that, I can't remember exactly. But that's, Jody already has lost 100 pounds, all right? So she's doing a lot of good things. But now her next step is to now cut the sweeteners down by 3/4. Okay, so the sweeteners that Jody is consuming, Jody, can you talk to us about that? I know it's Diet Pops, they've got sweeteners in it. And yet, I didn't think that the Coke Zero had too much bad stuff in it. It's interesting because I drink that. I have one, I probably have about 4 a week. So that's interesting to know that you're going to give up that. She did mention that what I do, which is to take a jug of water and throw a couple of pieces of orange and a slice of lemon. I put the ends of my oranges and lemons, I freeze them, and then when I make a jug of water, I throw the ends in. And, if you leave it there for a little while, it starts to go cloudy as those oils and everything from and the taste juices and stuff filter into the water. Jody was saying, this is about the best thing you can do. And if you like fizzy water, as Yvonne used to call it, or fuzzy water, she used to call it. If you like fuzzy water with the bubbles in it, if you've got a soda stream or something, then it's a good idea to start with this and then put bubbles into this and make the equivalent, if you like, of a like a 7-Up. Lemon lime would be nice as well. I think I'll get some extra limes. I might have some already in the fridge. All right, so think about that. The other thing that I have found, Jody, and the rest of you, the other thing I found is that I am using lemons and limes more in my cooking. And I think that's pretty Caribbean in some ways. They do like their sweetness and their sour, the sweet and the sour. Because I was thinking, adding more lemon into our diet. I think I'm right in saying it's an anti-inflammatory. It does all sorts of stuff. So adding those natural sugars from the oranges, for example, and the natural sour of lemons and things into the cooking ends up sort of compensating. Jody's saying, so much soda, low carb snacks, diet juice, it's in so much. And it's about choosing what to keep in her diet and how much of it. Exactly. And that is the same thing. I remember Beth telling us, for example, that whole milk is better for you than skim or 2%. Because what they're doing is they're cutting down some of the tasty stuff, so they put extra bad stuff in to compensate for that. So whilst we always thought that, you've got to stop drinking whole milk, well, it turns out that maybe not so much. I don't know what your dietitian said about that one, Jody. It'd be interesting to hear. And to my surprise, for example, I found that if I crave a snack late at night, to take a bowl of mini wheat and some milk actually doesn't spike my blood sugar the next morning. But most of the other things I crave at that time do. So now I'm training myself. If you must have something that tastes sweet, take the mini wheats. Now, here was an interesting thing. Regardless of how busy I was today, I think you all know I'm on a mission to get more fit and to lose some weight, even though it's coming up to Christmas. And so I've been really focusing on doing 30 minutes every day on my Wii Fit. Today, Sandy, listen up on this one, because I think you'd be interested in this one. Today, you will have heard me talk about the fact that one of the possibilities is a run around the island. They got a virtual island that you can run around. And, I can't run. I'm obese. I can't run. But here's what I found out. I wanted to know what happens if I don't even walk. What happens if I just use my arms? Okay. So now, Jody, I thought this was important for you to know and for Lauren to know, because Lauren's in a wheelchair, you have some mobility problems. So what I found out was I just stood and just used my arms. And I did 15 minutes of that. You can do this without a machine. You can just put the timer on and start doing 5. See if you can do it. And then if you can, work your way up the next week to 10, and then the next week under 15. I today did 2 lots of 15. And I thought, Sandy, I'm telling you, because I ended up doing 5,523 steps, doing that circuit twice. And I didn't move I moved my hips, and occasionally I used my legs. But what I realized was it's counting the movements that I was doing with my hands. And the other thing was it pushed my heart rate well over 100. So I thought some of you might need to know that. Some of you have heard that one of the things that I really have been fascinated with is my lack of balance, how my brain had stopped balancing my body. And I thought, a lot of people are going to say, but I can't afford a Wii or whatever. And I was thinking, you don't need a machine. You need the back of a chair. And I challenge those of you who want to improve your balance and find out how bad it is to try standing on one leg, but have a chair next to you so you've got somewhere you can balance. Try standing on one leg and just see how many minutes you can do it for before you give up. And it maybe is only 2 minutes or 3. But you see, at least you did 2 or 3 minutes. And then I would put the chair on the other side and see how your other leg's doing. And you don't have to have a machine to find out whether you can strengthen. I found out that your muscles deteriorate with age. And when you're old fart like I am, we deteriorate from the feet up. In other words, the strength in my feet and my legs and my knees and my hips are going to be the first things to go. My upper body strength is likely to stay. So what I realized is how much I had already lost in that mobility. And I'm doing everything I can to correct that, but I'm doing it 30 minutes a day. As I said at lunchtime, I was amazed how difficult it was for me to get down on the floor and just lie on my back. The only reason that was painful is because I was using muscles that I haven't used in a long time. Now, that does not require any equipment. And is it important for me to practice getting down on the floor and getting back up again? You bet it is. So yes, Sandy's saying, I still have 50 more minutes to get moving. So why don't you just move while you're listening to me, Sandy? Why don't you just put your timer on, and while you're listening to me, just start walking. And you don't even have to walk, just sit where you are and just start using your hands like this, because you will increase your heart rate. And that's what aerobics is increasing your heart rate. You don't have to be jogging, hard or whatever. I just went walking solidly without interruption. That is the trick. And by the way, you will get bored. And the question is, how long can you do it before you give up on yourself? And what I can do now is I can do 15 minutes without giving up on myself. And what I found is I can do that twice in a day if I want to. And that is important. And I want you to understand, I've done this in very small increments, right? And so the question is, do you want to improve your balance? If so, do something about it. Do you get what I'm saying? Do something about it. Now, I had a bit of a shock. But did any of you make any mistakes this week? Okay, so going back to my house that caught fire, the good news is, and remind me to talk about that if I haven't got a slide on it, but the good news is I got to actually start talking to people about, what flooring did I want in. And I was talking about that in the lunchtime broadcast. But anyway, so the mistake I made, you remember that I had asked them to put a heater in my house. What I didn't realize was that for the first month, the electrical company, we call it hydro here in Canada, but the electrical company wasn't charging me, because they had cut off the electricity. But apparently they started charging me recently, and that heater was costing me $10 a day. Why? There is no insulation in my house, and there were holes, where the dryer vent was, the cold air was coming in. And so, oh, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. Yes. Sorry, Linda, you did ask me, how do I check the steps? I check it on my, I've got a cheaper watch here. I think I paid $20 for it in Walmart or something. I will be getting my Fitbit back again. It's going to be my Christmas present to myself. But in the meantime, I've got an El Cheapo one. And by the way, I would recommend, if you need a fitness watch and you haven't got any money, try buying a secondhand one. Go to, I am amazed what's available on Facebook Marketplace these days. And do not buy anything where you're exchanging money that you don't have somebody else with you, because you want to make sure you're safe. Or if somebody's coming to you to deliver it, make sure you got somebody with you so that you're safe and they're not going to rob you or something. Be prepared, not scared. So here was the thing. They turned on the electricity in my house, apparently. And what I found out was that my bill was already, for this month, already $400. Or for this period, already $400. So guess what? I went to the house today and turned it off. I started by getting upset about that, and I went, no, they told me not to leave it on. And I just didn't realize how much it was going to cost me without the insulation in the house. And I can now tell you that in 1,200 square feet, which is what my home is, it is $400 in a very short space of time. So I've turned that off. But have I learned something? Yes. I've learned that the electrical units must be connected now. And that is great, because that means that I can put my Christmas lights up at my home, even though I'm not there. And I think I'm going to do that. I don't know why I would like to have it at my home, but not necessarily where I'm living. Does that make sense to anybody? And I think it's about my neighbors. You know what I mean? It's like, I want my neighbors to know I'm doing my best to keep up the, because we have a really nice group of neighbors, and, all their Christmas decorations are going up, and I'm going, I think I need to put some lights up at least to show willing. They don't expect me to do that, but I think I would do that just for their amusement, and they will laugh. And the other thing I found this week was that when I had to make decisions about the flooring for my house, when they redo all the flooring, I actually wrote to all my neighbors who have met me this year and asked for their opinion. Why? Because if I were at home, I would probably be doing that. I'd probably be going, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And what I've noticed is that all my neighbors are creative people. Because most of them are retired, and most of the women are creative. And so what I wanted as well is to let them know I hadn't forgotten about them. And I wrote everybody an email and said, hey guys, I'm writing to you because I know you care about me. Whether they do or not, that might be debatable, but that's how I wrote it. I know you care about me, and I know you care about what's happening with my home. So I thought I'd just ask for your opinion. Now, I don't have to take their opinion, but I would like to ask for it, right? And what amazed me was almost all of them wrote back to me and said, I've been thinking a lot about you, and I'm so glad you're okay. And yes, I quite agree with you, or whatever it was. And it was really, I was glad that I did it, because I included people that I don't see anymore, and I may not see really until the spring now when I go home again. So is there a way to do this? Is there a way to be neighborly even though I can't be there? Yep. And by the way, as I think you all know, every week, once a week, I go to my one neighbor and I deliver, my multi-grain sourdough to her because she loves it. And that's the one thing I do every week when I go to pick up my mail. I take a loaf of bread that I've baked for her. And that is my contribution. I can't do much, but I can do that. So how about this one? We've always said that doing what you can to achieve your dreams is living. And giving excuses why you didn't do what you wanted to do, that's existing. So again, I would ask you, did you take a step forward towards a dream that you've got? One of the things I was talking to Jody about, Jody was saying that the lino in her kitchen is 20 years old. And I am pretty certain that she would love new flooring in there. And I said to her, have you asked your landlord whether they would consider replacing 20-year-old lino? It's Christmas. You're a great tenant. And quite honestly, lino, if you buy it at the end of the roll type places, I'm pretty certain you haven't got a massive kitchen, Jody. Am I correct in that? Right? And so, you look at the square footage. I would actually measure it out, see what the square footage is, then go and suss out some end of the roll lino and work out how much is it going to cost. It is going to cost, $50 plus labor. And if they don't want to do that, you go, well, would you pay the $50 and we'll put it down? Or how much would it cost you to put laminate down if you'd like that, or tile? Do the math, find out what it would cost. And, I would ask you, dream a little. It's really depressing you. I can imagine it. And I would actually, I wouldn't go from the mental health point of view. I would go from the hygiene point of view and going, you know something, it's getting more and more difficult to clean it, and I'm not sure it's sanitary anymore. You know, when I drop stuff on it, it's not coming off the way that it should. And I'm getting concerned about that from a sanitary point of view, especially living where you do, where you're locked up, you know, because of the cold weather for so much. You know, but I'd ask, Jody, the worst that can happen is they can say no. And then if they do that, then you could ask them, what if we did it ourselves? Would you, you know, if that would be plan B. And I think, you know, for probably under $100, you could probably have a new floor in there if you wanted it. Think about that. You know, maybe you can't put it down, but I'm pretty certain somebody at the church can. You know, you understand what I'm saying? This is called, you know, and the end of the road people, they are only too happy to put it down. And a lot of, you know, that type of place, and they literally will say it's this much, and the installation is included. It's not a big area. I cannot believe your kitchen is that huge. You'd probably be shocked at how little it would cost. And that's why I would dream a little and say, given a choice, what sort of floor would I really like? And, you know, a lot of these laminate floors today are waterproof. The other thing is you can get lino that looks like it is, you know, laminate. It's the kitchen and the hallway. Yeah. And it's 20 years old. It's time to be replaced. You can do this, Jody. I'm on a mission. Dream. And it's the hallway as well. Imagine what a difference that would make to your whole life. By the way, have any of you taken up the carpets and just got flooring down now? I am shocked how much dirt I get off the floors. I'm not going out. I'm living inside here. And I'm amazed how much dirt I'm getting off the floors. I know a lot of it is hair. You know, I seem to drop a lot of hair. And a lot of it is skin cells, I guess. But, you know, I'm just shocked at how much I am getting off the floors, doing nothing. So I thought I'd just make a comment on that. And I know that once I started to go laminate and not carpet anymore, that's what I kept thinking. How much was stuck in those carpets that I never saw and was probably not good for me. I've said every week, and I will continue to say it, that I can draw a direct line between being totally honest with myself and my happiness. When I stopped giving excuses for everything and started to actually own my stuff, excuse Ooh. I was quite amazed. So think about that. What are you kidding yourself about? You know, what excuses are you giving yourself that is stopping you from getting what you want? And Jody, I think about you and your landlord and go, you know, I don't know what the bathroom floor covering is, but maybe it's time to do both, you know, together. And just say to them, we've done the measurements for you, just to let you know it's only, you know, 30 square feet. And, you know, not Walmart, but, you know, Home Depot has lino that looks like flooring, you know, for this much a square foot. Do the math, do the work for them. And just say, and that means that it would cost, you know, $50 in product and whatever labor if you happen to have somebody that could put it down. Yeah, I would, you know, I would take the opportunity to measure all of it. Oh, I am so sorry, people. I may have to stop the broadcast if this carries on. I've got some. And I don't know why. Was it something I unpacked? I'm allergic to sawdust, so it feels like an allergy type reaction to me that I've got going on here. Possible that some of this stuff was stored. Who cares? It is what it is. All right, so now then, again, under the title of Be Prepared, Not Scared, think about this. I went shopping at my own home. Why? Because I had done pandemic shopping. My question of you is, have you got enough stuff? Are you remembering to have what you need, what you're using right now, and an heir, in other words, the next one, and if you possibly can afford it, and a spare? You know, the heir and the spare is really important. So to me, how many weeks of toilet paper do you have on hand? And the other thing is, if toilet paper is difficult to get these days, which it may well be again, think about using less. Think about using less toilet paper. And you really start thinking about how many squares of toilet paper am I using, and do I really need to use that much? And for some reasons you do, but you know, for others, maybe you don't. And think about that. Think about how can I just save on that? I know that if I need it, I have got a freezer, 2 freezers full of food at the house. I haven't touched the stuff in the freezers, but I know I've got it there if I need it. You know, if times get really tough. Jody, I want you to talk about you getting that moringa powder, because you were talking about that last week. We were talking about, you know, maybe making your own pills and stuff, but you were saying that your arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis pain has diminished dramatically in a week from going back onto taking the moringa powder. Is that correct? I think that's something that people might want to know, because, you know, I've got quite serious pain in my one finger, and I can feel it starting in other ones. So I may just go back to buying some more of that and taking it. But I found that really interesting. Let's go back again to this whole concept of being grateful for everything is living. Constantly complaining about what you haven't got is existing. You understand that the way I changed my mind over when I saw that the T-shirts they had bought for me, and you know, I asked for some T-shirts to be sent. Half the T-shirts they sent were from a drawer that I had, T-shirts that meant a lot to me emotionally. They didn't fit me anymore. You know, and it's like, of all the T-shirts, they had to pick that drawer. You know, I probably have, you know, 25 T-shirts. Did they send my Don Simba ones? No, they sent ones that don't fit me anymore. That was my problem. And I just burst out laughing and went, that will teach you to be more specific next time. I'm now going to send them a note and go, by the way, if you happen to find any with the words Don Simba on them, those would be the next lot I'd like. You know, why don't I just ask for what I want? You know, what do I know? I know that my Don Simba ones all fit me, right? It's ridiculous. So think about, what are you complaining about in your mind, and go, what am I going to do about it? Or am I going to carry on just complaining about it? Jody, I would remind you how many things I really want to replace in my house that I'm going to end up replacing because of the fire. So I would just go, hey, every year, you know, if you don't get that new floor this year, every 6 months I'd have it on a to-do list to remind them that you need a new floor. And, you know, if they don't want to they've got to do it from a health perspective, I'm pretty sure. You know, it's just like, I can tell by the flooring, you know, and take a picture of it. You know, it's pretty obvious that it comes from the 70s. and it just going, I'm not sure how old it is, but, my guess would be maybe early 80s, give them the benefit of the doubt, in which case it's, 20 years old. And think about that. I think 20 years is about as much as you would want to have any flooring down for. I want to know if any of you, in terms of saving money, are doing couponing more. And if so, do you find it valuable? One of the things I saw this week, and just aside from that, is that the whole concept of Black Friday is falling away. The Black Friday deals and so forth. And the reason it's falling away is we can get so much online these days, and that, people are so desperate for our business that the Black Friday deals are going to be available all year round, quite honestly. You just got to look for them. Okay, Jody is saying that she also believes that they will listen to her. They said we could paint the living room. Yes, they know it needs upgrading. And, let them are they buying the paint? Because normally a landlord buys the paint if the tenant is willing to do the work. You see, what costs the money is the manpower. Yeah. So then the same thing. Maybe Lionel can learn how to, lay flooring. And if so, I would go for laminate rather than lino. I think, the laminate's easier to put down than the lino is. But I don't know. But again, I'm certain somebody knows somebody that can help. Get that flooring. It's on my list now. I'm going to keep bugging you about it. So does anybody coupon here? I just wanted to find out. To me, I think that a lot of people seem to do it very successfully. I don't have the time to do it that way, I don't believe. Or I don't want to spend the time doing it that way. So to me, I'm more inclined to shop. And, if I need meat, for example, and I have my stuff delivered now, but the first thing I will look for is what's on sale this week. When I'm buying meat, what's on sale? And, maybe it's beef, maybe it's steak. And what I will do is I will buy steak this week because it's on sale. And then I will buy as big as I can afford, and then cut it up into pieces about this big and freeze it in single portion sizes. So if I want to have steak tonight, I will pull out one steak, and that's how much steak I have. Why? It's already pre-cut and pre-frozen. And quite honestly, at that size, it doesn't take very long to thaw. As you know, I bake a full loaf of bread every week. Not that I eat a full loaf of bread, but I actually, bake a full loaf, and then I cut it up, and I then wrap it in tin foil, and I reuse the tin foil. When I'm finished with the tin foil, I take a damp cloth and I clean it and let it dry, fold it up and put it back ready for the next lot of bread. It's not like I'm wasting all the tin foil. I keep reusing it. And you'll be amazed if you buy good tin foil, how long that will last. So think about different little ways. Have any of you this week or recently come across a way to save money in your shopping or any other part of your life? Because we would love to hear about it. Now, while I'm waiting for those replies, I did mention last week, and I will continue to mention it, think about, in terms of keeping your mind challenged and occupied, think about learning how to cook one new dish every week, all right? And, if you are somebody that used to have a lot of takeout, maybe it's a takeout dish, that you used to have. Maybe you want to learn how to make sweet and sour pork or chicken chow mein or something, learn how to make it. I found that, I try to change the way that I cook everything. At least once a week, I try something pretty different for me. And what I'm trying to work on are dishes that don't call for a lot of carbs, obviously. I'm using udon noodles, but a little pack of udon noodles. I will cook up one package of it, but I will then add a lot of vegetables and stuff to it, and maybe some bits of bacon, and maybe a little bit of something else. But that will create 2 meals for me. And so I'm looking all the time at how can I do this, make it healthier. The way I make it healthier is I cook the whole lot up, but I only eat half of it. And I also add way more vegetables than normal. And then I top it up with a little bit of protein. So to me, it's like I keep looking for these ways to do it. And I would challenge you to do the same. When you start working on new habits, one of the things that we know is I did not go from buying that wee machine to doing what I've done today. It's taken me 3 weeks, but I have dedicated 30 minutes every day for the last 3 weeks. I thought it was 17 days, but it isn't. It's 3 weeks, apparently. I have dedicated 30 minutes of my day every day for the last 3 weeks. Why? I know that if you don't stop, if you just say every day, I am going to make time. Hi, Roddy, good to see you. I'm going to make time for me. That's my me time. I am going to make 30 minutes available. And it doesn't matter whether you get up and walk in place. It doesn't matter if you get up, open the window and walk in place. Get some fresh air into your house. You know what I mean? It's like, do what you have to do within the limitations of the pandemic. Do what you need to do to be safe, but don't stop looking after your health. And I have found now, for example, I now walk down the stairs to go and empty the garbage, and I live on the 4th floor, so that's good exercise. I haven't quite worked out how to get back because of fire doors and things. I haven't quite worked out how to get back again, but I can get down there quite easily. And so it's about find these little ways to do things for your health. Linda's saying, so I'm 60 plus and realizing that I can still learn something new. Well, I'm 73 and I love learning. That's that's how I keep myself amused. And making mistakes is part of that experience. And I don't worry about making mistakes. I wanted to give you a tip as well, guys. One thing that I noticed was that when I'm putting on the contour type stuff, I'm inclined to keep away from my ears. I don't know if any of you find that as well. And what I've learned to do, here's a tip for you as well, is when I finish putting on my makeup, and I do it automatically because I don't want all that crud inside my ear. And so what I do is when I finish putting all that stuff on, I take a little bit of moisturizer and then I rub very carefully. I rub that area between where I've got that contouring stuff and my ear, that little piece of your ear that sticks out there. And that helps blend it all in beautifully. The same thing as I will put, some contouring under my chins, but then I take moisturizer and I blend it all in with moisturizer. So it's really quite fun. Jody's saying, one of my greatest joys this week has been celebrating Sal's successes on the Wii. Well, I want to tell you something. It has stunned me, quite honestly, Jody, as you know. And I keep thinking about, Kimmy. I keep thinking about you, Jody, and Lauren, and everybody else. And I'm thinking, you don't have to have a machine. Sandy's got one, so I can talk to her privately. But, it's like the rest of you, I'm not asking you to go and buy a Wii. It's, what I'm asking you to do is, are you aware? Are you aware of how much muscle strength you have lost because of the pandemic? Or because of your illness, or because of whatever, and that you literally can build it up? Well, Ready says, I'm 23 and so depressed. You guys are amazing and you look so pretty. Well, aren't you the kind person? Thank you. And you are obviously a very wise person, Roddy, to be able to see that. So tell me something, Roddy, is this the first time or have you been listening in the background for a while? Some people listen for weeks or months on end, but actually don't talk. But we're so happy to see you talking here. And don't worry about being 23. I assure you that we have people of all different ages who are part of Dear Mama Sal. And it's really important. And the other thing, Roddy, is because you are new to me, if you don't want me to talk about something, just say that. You can type it up just so that the people in the room can see it. But if you don't want it to be on the replay later, just say, start by saying, Sal, don't repeat this. Because I've noticed there are times when you'd like the room to know, but you don't necessarily want the rest of the world to know. But then what I may do is look at what you're saying, think about that, and then I will try and bring that in a different way a little bit later, so I can answer you, but I'm not actually using your name attached to it. Does that make sense? I hope. But, if you are depressed, then welcome to the world of a lot of people at the moment. So if you'd like to talk about it, we have time. And I will make time to talk about it. But I would need you to let me know a little bit. And he's saying, I think it's a he, right? No, maybe not, now that I look at the picture. That looks like a female. Okay. Talking to you is the best thing that's happened to me this week. Well, I want to tell you something that you may or may not know. I have always said that if one person gets benefit out of one thing out of the broadcast, then it's worth doing the broadcast. So you go right ahead. This is your moment. And you are not holding up anybody else's time, because everybody that is in this room right now, Ruddy, everybody that's in this room right now has had their time. So this is yours. You go ahead and tell us what's going on. And we'll see if we can not only give you some support, but also give you a support team if you'd like it. Because that's what we do, right? We help one another. We all go through ups and downs, right? It's not just you. And I assure you, the whole reason I started doing Dear Mama Sal was because I kept saying, I wish I had known this when I was 20. But, in a way, I'm glad that I didn't, because I probably wouldn't be doing the work that I do today had I known that, right? My life would be very different. So tell us what's going on, if you can. And then tell us, if you had a magic wand and we could support you in some way, what way could we best help you? Knowing that none of us is a medical person, knowing that we are just nice people. And what would support look like to you? Because we'll do what we can to supply that for you. Now, I feel so lonely. I have no siblings and I don't meet my friends anymore because I just graduated. Yeah, that's a horrible time, isn't it? 1 minute you are in school and you've got all these people around you. And can you tell me what country you're in? It helps give me context in terms of the culture. Because I don't know, you could be in the Philippines, you could be in Hong Kong, you could be in Vancouver here, or you could be in LA. I don't know where you are. And so help me understand which country you're in. And that will help me a little bit. But thank you so much for telling the truth, Roddy. You do understand that by you talking about it, there are going to be other people that are listening in, either now or later, that are going to relate to this. So thank you. It's a really important part of what we do. If I had a magic wand, I'd like to have a big family and so many friends all over the world. Well, hello. Welcome to our world. In today's reality, now, Rody, one of the things that I'm going to tell you is you're in Egypt. Wow. The closest I've ever been to you was I was in Libya. And I think Benghazi would have been the closest I got to you. Was I in Ethiopia? That's pretty close too, right? I've been sort of, I've never actually been to Egypt. Isn't that funny? Anyway, so here's the thing. You have the ability to have as many friends as you want, but they're not going to be in person, right? Not only because of graduating and stuff, but because of the pandemic. Because it's, today it's not safe for us to meet until they get the vaccine out and everybody has had a chance to have it. It's not really that safe either. So let me ask you, knowing that you're not the only one, what could you do? You see, what we do here at Dear Mama Sal already is we don't work on what we can't do. We work on what can we do. So if I said to you, what one step could you take? What one step could you take that would make you feel like you had more friends? You've already taken one, by the way, because you've just got a room full of friends if you want them. All right? Think about that. And you've definitely, know that you can write to me anytime. You do know that, right? You can write to me anytime. And I pride myself in getting back to, I think, everybody that's ever written to me. So you've got somebody you can talk to about what's going on if you don't want to do it publicly. So you've already taken one step. Now, what are you going to do next week? Thank you, Jody, for putting that up. You write to dearmamasal@gmail.com. Could it be any easier? And so, Rudy, what one step could you take? All right? You said, if I had a magic wand, I'd like to have a big family. Well, you can't have a real one, neither can I, but I choose my friends. You see, in this day and age, we choose how big our family is. I can assure you that Jody never thought she was going to end up being part of my family, right? I didn't ever imagine, if you happen to know Benji and Judy, that they would end up being part of my family. But today we get to choose who we have in our family, all right? And even within your culture, things are changing so quickly that you can choose how many family and friends you have. And by the way, from a lot of people's experience, those friends may turn out to be better family for you than the family you might have. So it's not about how big your real family is. How big is the family you choose to have? Do you see this quilt right behind me here? Ready? See this quilt? The day that my house caught fire, one of my viewers sent me 2 quilts, this one here and the one that's presently on my bed. Why would she do that? Because she knows me well enough to know that what was so important to me was the things that were special to me, and I'd lost so much of that. So you think about that, Rody. We get to choose. And Rody, you're saying, oh my God, that's so sweet. You're so pure heart. No wonder Benji loves you so much. I assure you that what Benji loves about me is not how kind I am. Do you know that? If you ask Benji, I don't think he would ever say that's why he and I connected. Benji appreciates in me, Ruddy, more than anything else, my honesty. And when everybody else is telling him what they think he wants to hear, he'll turn to me and go, okay, so what do you think? And I'll tell him. And if I think he's, shooting bubbles up his whatsits, I will tell him. And he loves me for that. And I don't think I have to be right on that. If you ask for my opinion, Ruddy, you will get it. And by the way, everybody in this room will tell you, if you don't already know, that watch out for the words that you may hear from me that says, I would like to hit you with a 2x4. Because if you hear me say that, it'll be because I think you're busy lying to yourself, and I care enough to tell you that I'm hearing that. And everybody in this room, I think, will tell you that they've been there and done that. And some of them have got quite big bruises, because I will ask first, and I will say, is it okay if I hit you with a 2x4? Right? Because but did you know, Ruddy, that I spent probably half my life in depression? I know what it feels like, honey. It's horrible. I don't ever want to go there again. I don't ever want to go there again. So, question. Does it make sense to you that you're depressed because you keep thinking how it was before you graduated, when you had all those people around you? You're thinking back. And one thing that everybody here will tell you, that if you keep trying to relive your past, you will be depressed. It's gone. Your job is not to worry too much about the future, but what could you do today? Who could you become a friend to? Who could you be a kind family member to? Maybe somebody in this room. Somebody in this room needs your wisdom. I know you don't believe that, but it's true. And I can assure you, one of the things, the reason that we meet 3 times a week is we all go through ups and downs. We all go through ups and downs. I can assure you that probably the thing that shocked me most was getting a call from Judy once. And it was on a really important issue. And she phoned me they were away from home somewhere, and she phoned me and she asked me a question, and it brought tears to my eyes, because it was such an important question. And I went, Judy, have you spoken to your mom about this? And she said, no, Sal, my first thought, she calls me Mama Sal. No, Mama Sal, my first thought was to call you. And of course, I was just a blubbering wreck at that point, because what greater compliment could she give me than that? And by the way, I said, do you want my sympathy or do you want my truth? And she said, I'm calling you because Benji said, if ever I needed the truth, to call Mama Sal. Because I don't give people sympathy. I do what I can to help them deal with reality. So here you are, already. You're saying, oh my goodness, that's true. I always feel like I want to live my past like my childhood. Are you ready for the first 2x4? Ready? Do you trust me enough? And if you don't, it's okay. Big decision. I'm going to It's taking longer than I expected. Of course, she says. Okay. So, first of all, I need to show you something, ready? Okay. Here you go. So the first thing is, I say to my viewers, understand that you probably live a lot of your life in emotion. I haven't written the full word there, but that's what it is, emotion. And you just keep going round and round in circles, right? And when you're depressed, you also think that nobody understands. Okay? You're saying you wish that I could be yours as well. Well, I am, if you want me. All right, but understand this, that every thought you have needs to go through, I don't know if you know this, but every thought you have goes through your emotion before you start working it all out and then get into reality. So when you think about how your life was, do you feel happy or sad? When you think about all the friends you had, when you think about all the parties you had, when you think back, does it make you happy or sad? I'm going to keep talking because obviously there's a bit of delay to get the answers. So I'm going to keep talking in the meantime. So here is the thing. Can you ever go back there? No. Fatima, welcome. I've got tears in my eyes now. Rodi, because you're talking about this, Fatima comes in. Understand you made a difference in somebody's life today, Rodi. Welcome, Fatima. And with the name like that, the chances are you also are somewhere in the same region. So Fatima's saying, it makes me sad because I didn't take advantage of the good days. Do not be sad. Be glad you have survived this long. You cannot change what is past, Fatima. Do you understand that? Staying in the past will just make you depressed. What I need you to really work on, you and Roddy, is what can I do today to make myself happier? You don't have to be totally happy. What one step could I take today to change my reality? To get out of this hamster wheel of going round and round in circles in depression and move on with your life. And the way you do that is start dealing with reality. You cannot go back. You do not know if there will be a tomorrow, right? Unless you're smarter than I am. Hi, Irit. Welcome. And welcome. And thank you for letting me know that you're from Israel. But can you all see, Ruddy, you're starting a little run here. Because you bothered to tell the truth about what was happening to you, you see already that people are coming in to talk about it. I don't know how to thank you, Ruddy. Ruddy's saying, when I was young, I had an imaginary friend. You still do. You still do if you want one. Okay? And your imaginary friend probably was, understood you very well. So I just can't adapt the same way. Well, that's what we do, is we teach people how to do that, Ruddy. But you're going to need to understand that you cannot go back. Do you get that? You can't. Imagine this, Ruddy. This year I sold my beautiful home. I bought a new one, and then it caught fire. Ruddy, can I go back and start again? And by the way, the house I bought was beautiful. And if you see it now, it would break your heart. It's all stripped, all the stuff in it's gone, all the wallpaper's gone, all the flooring has gone. It is a shell because of the fire. They had to take everything out. So instead of this beautiful home that I bought, I've got this incredible shell. I can't go back to how it was. I can only look forward to how it may be, but I can only deal with what I can deal with today. Right? If I keep going back to how it was, I will be depressed. If I keep worrying about how many decisions I have got to make in the future about new flooring, new this, I will get anxious. So my job is to stay real and just deal with what I can do today. Now, all of you, this takes a bit of practice. And that's why the people in this room are just wonderful, because we do this every week. We talk about things every week. I don't know how you found me, you guys, but I'm very glad that you found us, not just me, us. Because every week, 3 times every week, we talk about this, and it stays on the replay. So anytime you want to learn how to change that thinking, keep listening to the broadcasts. If you can't be there in person, one of 2 things you can do. You can hear the replay, and on Friday lunchtimes, we talk about feelings and emotions. Friday evenings, we talk about what's going on in our lives. And then on Sunday afternoons, we talk about dealing with stress. But if you can't be here because of the time difference or whatever, you can always listen to the replay. If you've got a problem that you'd like me to discuss, from my perspective, you can write to me, and I will make sure that I will, if I think the topic is one that other people will need, I will put it in a broadcast, or I will just write back to you directly and say, hey, I will put it in a future broadcast, but in the meantime, here's what comes to my mind. So you've got as much help on this as you want. I know that in a lot of countries, there isn't the help that you need. I do 3 broadcasts every week. And the times I'm going to give you, Roddy, have you got a pen there? I do 3 broadcasts almost every week. Occasionally I have to cancel one, but I will let you know if I have to. I do lunchtime Pacific time, that's 12 noon Pacific time, every Friday. And then I do this one at 7 o'clock Pacific time in the evening, 7 p.m. And then I do a third one every Sunday at 3:30 Pacific time. And, we do that every week we're here. And every week we are here and delighted to talk to people. So if you've got friends that need help, let them know. If you've got friends in Israel that need help, let them know. This is what we do. That's our whole reason for being here, is to help people get through whatever it is that they are dealing with. But I always say to people, if you're looking for sympathy, there are other places. But if you want help, if we can help you with things you can do to make this better, you just have to let us know. I assure you that we literally have had people who suffered from agoraphobia. They couldn't get out of the house. And we did things to help them in a way that they said nobody else ever had. And it's like, we understand. We've got people with cancer in this room. We've got people who've recovered from cancer. We've got people that are in wheelchairs. We've got all sorts of different people that are part of DearMamaSal. So we understand a lot of stuff. And I assure you that everybody in this room that I can think of right now understands and have been through what you're going through in terms of being 23 and alone. I totally get it, Roddy. And by the way, Eric, so many people in this room will tell you that they had that moment where they suddenly realized they're 60 plus and they wish they'd understood stuff a lot earlier. I've got a wonderful thing in my house at the moment, and I'd like to share it with you because it is so cute. It says, this is in my house that I am trying to get back to. It says that if you haven't grown up by 60, you don't have to. I'd like to challenge you, Eric, that I have a feeling that there is a large kid in you and you got way too serious too soon. And I would challenge you to let me know if that is true. And if it is, I believe if you want to have a happier second part of your life, that you may want to learn to play again. Let me know if this is touching your soul anywhere. It is so important for us to realize you are not alone. And Roddy's saying, whoa, this is like group therapy here. Thanks God, because in my country, the doctor told me to start praying to stop my OCD. Oh, okay. My very dearest friend has OCD. And I want to tell you, having OCD is a great thing if you want it to be. Right? And Roddy, if you want to write and tell me how the OCD, where you have your OCD, let me know what happens to you, and I certainly will do everything I can to work with you. I assure you, my OCD friend is not nearly as OCD as she used to be. And you see, you've got a really good reason. You had a really good reason to become OCD. It was your security. All right. At some deep level, it became your security. And so there are other people. I have a bit of OCD that I didn't realize until I met Yvonne, who I recognized some of my OCD by seeing hers. And so there are other people that are here, part of Dear Mama Sal, who will relate to you in that. We've got other people who understand that at a very deep level. So thank you. Keep talking about what's going on, because you're not alone. You are not alone, honey. You don't have to be embarrassed about it. You don't have to be, think that people are going to judge you for it. This is what we do here, is we talk real life problems. Right? Real life problems. And the best that you can do is stay honest. If you can get honest about these things, you will find that they don't control you the same way. Right? And that is our wish for you. Above all else, that is our wish for you. That you learn to deal in the present. That you learn to think like the adult you are becoming and stop thinking like the child you wish you were. Do you understand the difference? We all want somebody to save us, but that's childish thinking. Yeah, I understand this OCD thing. And the trick is to be aware that you do it and then ask yourself, really, why do I have to do it, right? Is it okay for me to repeat what you said there, Roddy? Let me know, because people will relate to that. And just to let you know, when I first met Yvonne, I could pick up something when I was talking to her and put it back, and she'd go, "You've put that in the wrong place." And she'd come and move it like a millimeter. And I go, "You've got to be joking." Because I just couldn't believe it. But, I understood it. Fatima saying, some people use faith and praying as a way to cope with depression, anxiety, and so on. I am one of them. It might not work for everybody, but it works for others. I am not discounting prayer ever. You will, if you follow me on Facebook, you will find that I put up thoughts and prayers for people all the time. I do not think for one moment that I do not believe in thoughts and prayers, because I do. All right. So you have a daily routine, when you're doing tests, but you've just finished all your tests, right? You've graduated. What are you going to do now? You've graduated. So now what are you going to do? Keep doing the same things? I want to tell you something. I used to be a professional speaker, Ruddy, and before I did speeches, I had a routine of things I did. That gave me strength. That gave me confidence. I'm pretty sure that when you think about it, that routine that you had before tests was a good thing. It helped keep you calm and not panicking and not overwhelming. You had a routine that kept you grounded. Well done. That's smart. So, Fatima, I think that people who have faith are amongst the luckiest people. I really do. I want to tell you that there is nothing wrong with praying. And if it helps your depression, that is awesome. And if praying helps your anxiety, that is awesome. But my job is to tell you from my experience of having had both those. Number one, if I think backwards, I get depressed. If I want to relive, if I want to go back to being a child and waiting for mommy or daddy to come and fix things, that's childish, and I end up depressed. Why? I cannot relive that without being depressed. If I think about the future too much, I will start being anxious, right? Because it's what if, because that's what happens when you keep thinking into the future, is you get anxious. I'm scared of what might happen when this, what if I, it's all that stuff will make you anxious. What we do here is we help people stay present. What can I do today? So, Roddy, what one thing can you do today to make a new friend, or to make somebody else know that they have a friend? Because sometimes the greatest way to get friends is to be a friend. And I would recommend that every day you make a point of getting in touch with somebody, right? Because communication is going to help you stay in the present. Interesting. Roddy's saying, of course, I believe in praying, but the day that I went to the doctor, I couldn't stop my anxiety. I couldn't move. I couldn't wish for praying without repeating. Oh, I couldn't wash for praying, for your prayers, okay, without repeating your washing steps. Totally understand it. You were overwhelmed, honey. Right? Would you like a quick tip on that one? I have one. If you want to stop your anxiety, there's a reason why your OCD helps control your anxiety. Routine will always help. Okay, so the doctor said to keep praying even though you couldn't leave your bed. All right, so when you're lying in bed and feeling anxious, here's something else I would like to suggest. You understand I'm not a doctor, right, Reddy? I just want to make sure you know that, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional in any way. But what I have learned from being alive as long as I have is a very quick way to stop anxiety is actually to count. It's really weird. So while you're feeling anxious, lying in bed, understand that anxious means you're thinking forward. You're scared about something in the future. And so one of the things that you might want to practice, because it does take practice, is to count, all right? Apparently, it has been shown that you cannot count and be anxious at the same time. So literally practice, when you start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, practice going, okay, I've got 2 windows in my room. I've got 3 doors, and start counting things. It will help. Hi, Chip. Good to see you again. All right. All right, so Rudy's saying, now that my tests are done and those hard days are done, my OCD is getting better. Good, that's excellent. And that's what I want you to see. All right, I want you to see that now you will only have OCD. You probably find some other reason to have it. It's just like, because it's your comfort zone in a way. Chip is saying, been watching you since the start of the broadcast. I just wanted to say hi, Sal, and to chat. Greetings from Southern California. We're always delighted to see you, Chip. Thank you for popping in. But Roddy, I want you to know that this too shall pass. There are people in this Dear Mama Sal group who suffered severe anxiety, who will now tell you that they just don't have it anymore. There are people that have been severely depressed that are doing so much better because they understand it in a real sense, not a medical sense, but in a real sense. And so all I'm saying to you is don't give up on yourself, please. And Eric, wherever you are, please understand, that it's never too late. You weren't ready to learn certain things earlier. That's why you got to 60 without understanding them. But now you're ready. It's a difference. Roddy, I wouldn't ignore it now. I'd be very aware of it and understand, as I said to you, that OCD isn't necessarily a bad thing. Do you know, I use Yvonne's OCD, right? Do you have a photographic memory? Because sometimes people with OCD have that ability. And it's really funny. I can literally be in a meeting or doing something, and somebody will ask me a question, and I go, oh, you're asking the wrong person. And I will pick up my phone, and I will text Yvonne a question. And she has such a good memory for things that she will not only answer the question, but she'll tell me, and that happened on November the 25th at 3:32. And the person that asked me the question said, I didn't need that much detail. I said, you don't understand, that's Yvonne. Yeah. So to me, I love Yvonne and her OCD. I love her for all that, because for whatever things we have, we compensate with other things. And, my attitude is, what a wonderful gift I have for having somebody in my life who has that level of ability. And so understand that not all OCD stuff is bad. Routine is a good thing, not a bad thing. And if you had a routine to drop your stress levels before a test, clever girl. Right? Clever, not stupid, clever. All right, so you're saying you have a good memory, but not with numbers. All right, doesn't matter. And Eric saying, yes, I understand that I'm aging. I understand that I was a good teacher, and now I do things to keep me busy. I am not depressed. Very important. What one thing can you do? If you ask yourself that every time you feel a little bit depressed, okay, so I'm feeling a bit depressed, which means I'm thinking about the past. Yeah, you're a very happy person. Well done. Well done. So when I get that feeling starting up, I'm isolated. I live on my own. I can't go and see Benji and Judy and the children. Little baby Leah is growing up, and I've never even given her a hug. I mean, hello? Of course I get depressed. So, but the moment I get depressed, I go, what one thing can I do to get back into reality? Stop thinking about the past. What I used to be able to go down and go and visit them, I can't now. And who knows how long it will be. Do you know, there's part of me that thinks, I wonder if I'll ever be able to go and visit them again. And Roddy, yes, I like my OCD sometimes. It's my security blanket. Exactly. You see, and it's the same thing as I look at myself at 73 and I go, I'm in some ways at my age, I'm doing things that people 20 years younger than me are not doing. All right. Age is just a mentality. It's not it's like, I'm as old as I want to be. I could just stop doing everything and not learn about YouTube and not learn about whatever. I could have just knitted and crocheted, but I had stuff I wanted to do. And one of the things that I said was, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping as many people as I can learn the things I wish I'd learned earlier. And that was my mission. That's why I became a YouTuber. All right. It was so that I could share with you a real person who had depression, that had anxiety, who now is a pretty happy person. Why? I learned how to control it. And by the way, not with medications and everything else. And I will talk about that another time, but you understand, if you want to do something, you can do it. If you want to dream a dream, you can create it to the large extent, not all of them, but most of them. And so every week we talk about these things. We talk about real life and people with real problems. And I thank you, because you will never know how many people needed to hear that today. But I do need to get out of here now. I'm nearly half an hour over my time and my voice is going. So thank you so much for trusting us. Thank you for coming in. Come in again. Feel free to let your friends know there is a place where they talk about real stuff like this. And to the Dear Mama Sal peeps that have been here to support everybody, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Jody, great job as usual. All of you, keep doing one more step in what you want to do. Not what everybody else wants you to do, but if you are saying, I want to get more balance, can you balance for 10 minutes on one leg? Start working. And if you're saying, you're going to be joking, Sal, I can't even balance for 10 seconds, never mind 10 minutes. Well, the way you start it is you take that first step and say, let me find out how many seconds I can balance for. And if it's 10 seconds, you go, okay, that's where I'm starting. But my goal is 10 minutes. And if you dedicate a certain amount of time every day to doing that, you will build that strength. I can promise you that. Well, Fatima, it's my pleasure. Thank you for thanking me. But please understand, it's all of us. I don't do this on my own. Good night, Sandy. Thank you. Big hugs. Keep up the good work on the steps. And Roddy, thank you for coming in and helping so many people that you won't even know needed to hear what you talked about. You never know. And big hugs to you all. And thank you. Have a wonderful day. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see some of you on Sunday afternoon at 3:30 Pacific, and we'll be talking about coping with stress. If you enjoyed the broadcast, please leave some comments below so that people know it was worth listening to. And you might even want to say, this is what I learned from it, so they know that it has content. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, look after one another. But please, please, please remember, look after yourself. You are the most important person. You are unique. There's only one of you in the world, and you need to look after that person, whether it is your health, whether it is your mental health, whether it is your humor, whether it's your muscle tone, whether it's your blood sugar. Only you can do it. Only you can do it. Nobody is going to come and fix it for you. You need to do the work. And that's what we are here to help you with. This is Dear Mama Sal saying big hugs. Thank you for sharing. And that helped so many people. Bye-bye for now.